happen to the rest of the crop? Now, Paul is saying that's what Jesus is. Jesus is the first, but there's a lot more to come. There's more to follow. What happened to Jesus will happen to us. You see, Jesus is the first fruits, but in a sense, Paul is saying, you guys, you're the rest of us, you're the rest of the harvest. So we can look at Jesus and say, what happened to Jesus will happen to us. Now, what happened to Jesus? Well, look, Paul says, those who have fallen asleep. Christ will raise those who have fallen asleep. Right? Jesus came back from the dead. And now Paul actually says, the rest who have just fallen asleep. You see what he's saying? He's saying, with Jesus, death has been transformed so completely that it's now more like falling asleep than it is about dying. Death has been transformed. Death is now sleep. See, it's not to minimize the pain. Paul, in the New Testament, never minimizes the pain of what it is to lose someone. It never tries to downplay grief. But right, death, we're always acknowledged that death hurts, loss hurts, grief hurts, especially for those of us who've lost loved ones. But Paul is saying death is now asleep, that one day the dawn will come and we will all be raised. We'll be brought back to life. Some of you know a colleague of mine, Perry Tinklenberg. Perry is a pastor in Spokane, and he sent an email this week to all of us colleagues, pastors in our area, and he shared a story. He said he was working on his Easter message just Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was, and he was working through this very idea that the dead in Christ will rise and we will live forever with Jesus. And as he was working through this idea and reflecting on it and trying to refine it and getting it ready for a sermon, he gets a phone call. It was his mom or his family member talking about his mom. They said, we need to take Mom into urgent care. Mom had been having they thought it was appendicitis or maybe a gallbladder. So they thought, well, it'll be a routine surgery, and she'll be home maybe tomorrow, the next day. 10 hours later, they were at a whole different clinic, a whole different hospital on the other side of town, and Mom had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer that had metastasized into the liver. You know that that's a serious thing. It's usually a terminal illness. And so as Pastor Perry is thinking about all of this, and he's trying to make sense, here's the theory, here's the things I've studied and learned and reflected, and now it's got to come home and be for real. And here's what he said. I'll share this one line with you. He said, the resurrection of Jesus exceeds cliches to become the foundation stone for hope and comfort. With Jesus, resurrection or death is changed into sleep. But more than that, his resurrection also brings eternal realities into the present. Eternal realities of resurrection and new life. Jesus says, I'm going to bring those right here today.